Hello, and welcome to the Hogancast, a weekly podcast where we discuss a variety of subjects. Each week, we talk about a different topic, from literature to travel and everything in between. Our episodes strive to be both conversational and informational, and our occasional interviews are hopefully entertaining. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Hogancast. It has been a long time, but we are back with the 10th episode, and I know I said this was going to be a special episode, and it is not. It is a normal episode. In fact, to be honest, probably less planning has went into this episode than any other episode I have recorded, so I guess that's special in its own way. This episode is dedicated to the man, the myth, the legend, Scott. I won't say his last name because he might want to keep his identity hidden. Not me, not Scott Hogan, but another special Scott who is currently in Bangkok, Thailand, and he just got a promotion. And so I am dedicating this episode to him, not only because he got a promotion, but because he has been annoying me to post a new episode for about a month. So that's what I'm doing right now. If it's not up to the high standards of the Hogancast, I do apologize. A lot of stuff has been going on, a lot of changes. In fact, that's kind of what this episode is about, is changes. But I'll just give you a few brief rundowns of changes that are going to happen. First, let's do a change with this episode. I'm probably not going to edit it, so you might hear a lot of ums and and so there might be a lot of those in there, but I'm not going to edit it. I am getting ready to go on a business trip, so I don't have time to edit it, but I felt obliged, like I said, to dedicate it to my muse in Bangkok, Thailand. But seriously, I have had a lot of changes. A lot of things have changed in my life that have kind of kept me away from returning to the Hogancast. First of all, I had COVID. And I did not feel like doing a podcast. Pretty much like right after I did the 9th episode, or a little bit farther past that, I got COVID, and I did not feel like even thinking about podcasts for a while. I had an idea. I don't even remember what that idea for the 10th episode was, but it wasn't this. But that's fine. We are recording an episode, and it's going to go live, whether it's good or not. It's going to be the 10th episode. But so COVID kind of killed me for a while. Then I changed jobs. I've been in the education and training field for over a decade. I was a teacher first, and then kind of an education counselor, training manager kind of jobs. And then I went back to teaching and then instructional design. And now I've moved into communications, kind of mass comm, more journalism, public relations type deal. So yeah, big change, and I'm definitely adjusting to that. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But yeah, so big changes. Just a few months ago, I was going to Texas. I was going to take this job in Texas and go back to teaching English as a second language. But things change. I went to Thailand. Not that this is not getting me back to Thailand or Southeast Asia or anything like that, but when I came back after our holiday there, I just didn't want. I didn't want. Not that I don't like Texas. I do like Texas, but it was going to be a really expensive move, and my passion, my drive for that job had kind of faded. So I just kind of hung in there in instructional design, and then when this job came open, and it gave me a chance to kind of see if I really liked journalism, if I liked doing that type of job day in, day out, not just as college assignments. Now, yeah, of course I was going to take it. It was a similar amount of remuneration, so I wasn't like going to be in the poorhouse or anything like that, so I wanted to check it out. But just changes in general scare a lot of people. And I understand, like, it can be really terrifying to just completely change. But at the same time, I think it's good. I think change is good. I think it's really easy, especially with jobs, because to get caught in that rut. One of the most famous plays, and I'm just shooting from the hip here, but one of the most famous plays in America is Death of a Salesman. And Willie Lomack, I believe that's the name. Please don't correct me because I haven't done any research or anything like that. But Willie Lomack is the titular salesman, and he's been a salesman his whole life. He had one big opportunity to go with his uncle, I think to Alaska, because his uncle had went to the jungle when he was like 18 years old or 19 years old and had found a diamond mine. And so his uncle was rich. And Willie thought that was the greatest thing ever, but he would never take that chance himself. So, he worked in that same job because he had a family to take care of. It's completely understandable. And it's not really about that. It's about like how the American dream is all a lie, and you can work your life and hoping that American dream is going to give you this beautiful, wonderful house with a picket fence, and if you work hard you'll be rewarded, you'll move up in society. And Willie never did. And people around him that he maybe even looked down upon, who were smarter, maybe they didn't even work as hard as Willie, but they did move up in the social strata. And he was really disenfranchised. He was starting to have a little bit of dementia and things like that. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but that's a good example of just someone kind of getting stuck in the rut, never really changing anything up. And it's understandable, especially if you have a family, like I said. But for me, I always wanted to change. Like so I was in the Navy for 8 years, and I could have stayed in the Navy for 20. And I could be collecting a retirement right now, and that would probably be a lot better for me financially than getting out and going to college and maybe taking student loans that I shouldn't have taken, that maybe I'm still paying off. But, sorry, I just took a little drink of vodka and orange juice. But I'm glad I got out of the Navy. The military in general is very insulating. So if I was getting out, I think I would have just wrapped up my 20 years a few years ago, and I had come back into probably a society that I haven't really been part of you're still part of society. I mean, it's not like you're not completely locked away, but you are around, it's almost like a small town. You're around other military members, and it is diverse and things like that, but you've all been to boot camp. You've all, did similar things. I won't say you have the same mindset, but you're all usually interacting with other military all the time. So, getting out at this point and then not having had the opportunity to do everything I wanted to do before that, because I couldn't imagine now then it would have been 38. I think I would have been 38 when I would have retired, and then now I'm gonna go teach English in Thailand. I mean, I probably would have been a lot easier because I had my retirement. I wouldn't have had to worry that much about the salary they offered me, but at the same time, that's crazy. That's not crazy, but I'm not sure I would have the same gall to just say, okay, I'm gonna quit this job. Because when I worked at the hospital, I was just like, you know what? All right, I finished my bachelor's. I got my bachelor's in English and Lit, so I'm gone. I'm done. And I was making all right money for me at that time, just working at the hospital. So that wasn't an easy thing to do, but I felt that I wanted to do it, and I did it. And I was in Thailand. I didn't make money at all at first. It was crap. But I was in Thailand, and after 7 years there, I told my wife, let's go to Vietnam. So we did. And then a couple years there, and I was like, okay, I got this cool offer from the government. I didn't think I'd ever work for the government again, but we can go back to Japan. And we did. And then, one thing led to another. I kind of found myself back in West Virginia. And now I had been working for the government for, 5 years again. So 5 years or so again. But now I'm not. I've completely changed, not in education, not working for the government. And yeah, it's been interesting. It's been an interesting experience. You would think that my background in English would completely prepare me for journalism, but it's a completely different style of writing. So when I take journalism class, because my main master's is not really journalism. It's got journalistic elements to it, but it's more about public relations. But this job is more, so far what I've done is more journalism. Sorry, more vodka. So usually when you're taking a journalism class, you'll do 2 or 3 styles of writing, usually 2. You'll write an article, or more than one article, but you'll do the inverted pyramid. And the inverted pyramid is like when you open the paper and it's like this happened or this is happening here. Who, what, when, where, why. That's all the first paragraph or two paragraphs. That's not the most fun style of journalism. You may have a couple quotes in there, but it's really simplistic writing. Not a lot of passive voice. The language isn't flowery. And so coming from like a literary background, or, just even like when I wrote some short stories, my language is a lot more flowery. I use passive voice, maybe a little bit more than I should, but that's not what they want for articles. So that's been an adjustment. Now you have another type of writing, like feature writing, and that's a broad term. You could do a profile on somebody. You could write a feature on, a corrupt city official or something like that. Investigative journalism. That's the kind of stories that win Pulitzers, and that you got a lot more leeway there. You can be more literary in terms of what you're writing. But what I mostly do on a day-to-day basis is that inverted pyramid stuff, and I won't say it's boring because it's not boring. I should say that, but it's been a bit of an adjustment to go and write in that style with very simple sentences. And I love the passive voice, and I know a lot of people hate the passive voice, but I love the passive voice. I think it's a really cool part of the English language that people should use more. But I understand that I need to adjust my writing style. So it hasn't just been like I'm an English major so I can completely become a journalist, because it's a different style of writing. There's even different rules. That's why you have the AP style. But it's been a cool experience, and it by taking this chance, even if I hate it in 3 months and I'm like, man, I wish I hadn't left my old job. But now I know, and I don't wonder, what if I had tried journalism, or what if I had tried mass communication? Because I know everybody has at least some regret of an not something crazy like, oh, why didn't I make it into the NBA? For most of us, that was never going to be an option. But stuff that we could have done that we didn't do because we were afraid of changes in our lives, or we were afraid of this or afraid of that. And I think when possible, obviously if you have a family, it's a little bit more difficult. But for me, whenever possible, if I feel I want to try something, or if I feel I want to change, then I try not to shy away from that. And that probably won't work for everybody, but for me, like if I even if I'm comfortable and I'm making good money or whatever, if I think, okay, I'm going to change careers because I want to try this or whatever, then I'm going to try to do it, even now at like 40 something. So I think change is good. I think you can get caught in a rut, like I said, and working with companies for a long time without really making yourself more hireable. If that, like, you can look at West Virginia coal miners now. The coal doesn't flow in West Virginia anymore, but they have machines to they're taking a lot of the jobs. And then it's hard for them to get jobs. It's a great job when you have it for money wise. And even as a teacher, like eventually you get to that point where, like, I don't know if I can walk back in the classroom again and deal with, kids. I mean, I think I could, but eventually you get to that point where you're that teacher showing the video for every class. Like one of my history teachers used to walk into his class and be like, all right, now we're going to watch a video on Charlemagne. And then he'd just fall asleep. So yeah, I never wanted to be like, every teacher gets a little bit lazy sometimes, but, and it's fun to show the kids videos and movies because, they enjoy it. But like every class, I ain't ever want to be that guy. Like one of those, I got tenure. We're watching, the History Channel, whatever. So, not that I don't ever want to go back into teaching. I love teaching, but it is a stressful, hardcore job. But I do miss it sometimes. So, yeah, I am all about change. Changes. Speaking of David Bowie, I watched the Elvis movie the other night. Not related, but I watched that Elvis movie the other night. The Bars Luhrmann, I think his name is. I really liked it. I didn't think I was gonna like it. I wouldn't say I'm like a huge Elvis fan, but I do like Elvis, and I like the song, like the songs I like of Elvis. I like a lot, and I thought it was a really awesome flick. I thought the actor Austin Butler did a great job, but that's a movie I watched that you probably don't care about. So, um, I want to talk about the plans going future. Plans going future. Jesus, I'm glad I'm not editing this because that's great. I want to talk about the plans going forward. The podcast. And I need to change that intro because there is no way that I'm going to do a weekly episode with a different topic every week. I don't know what made me think I could do that early on. I thought so when I first started the podcast. I had like, oh man, I'm going to talk about, this week I'll talk about Shakespeare. Next week I'll interview some local person, and then the week after that I'll talk about the news or politics or what. I didn't really want to talk about politics, but like that was my idea when I started the podcast. And I thought my wife would be a bigger part of it than she was. She was on for like the first 3 episodes, and then just kind of, she's super busy. She works a lot more than me. Not a lot more than me, but she works a lot more often than me because she's kind of like flipped. Her job is still back in Asia. So at night when I would do the podcast, a lot of times she is on a call or in a meeting. So more vodka. So I'm not going to do weekly episodes, obviously, but I also kind of thought now that we've reached this 10th episode, I need to rethink what I do want to do. I need to change that intro so it stops reminding you that I said I'll do weekly topics every time an episode plays. So I need to change that. And I like to take off my, when I started the podcast, I was like, oh, family friendly, no profanity. I might change that as well. I was in the Navy for a long time. I have a little bit of a sailor's mouth on me. And there's been a few times when I've let stuff slip and I've had to dig through it and find it when I was editing it. And I wouldn't just spend 30 minutes cursing, but like if I slip up or if I'm passionate about something and I use a curse word, I don't think that's that big of a deal. So might change that. So I'm kind of thinking like these first 10 episodes are like season 1. And we're waiting to see if we get renewed for season 2. Hopefully we'll get picked up by the powers that be. But I think that I have enjoyed doing the podcast. It's been a lot of fun. I don't know. A lot of times I'm kind of like, well, what do people want to listen to? Do they like it when I talk about literature? And all 5 of you, I don't know what you guys like. So I'm going to take maybe I'll take a survey. And if I get 3 out of 5 votes for a certain thing, I'll do that going forward. But, I kind of want to get more consistent with the episodes. Even if it's monthly episodes, I want to be more consistent. I don't want 6 months between episodes or 3 months between episodes because I do enjoy doing it. But it takes a lot more time and planning than I thought it would when I started. But that is what it is, man. I think I'll kind of expand things. I won't just try to talk about literary topics or music. I think that's been kind of the focus lately. Maybe we'll talk about aliens and stuff like that. That was early on. I thought, oh man, I'll do a Mothman episode because Mothman, Point Pleasant, West Virginia, all that stuff. But everybody's done it better, like just because I'm from West Virginia doesn't mean I can do like a better Mothman episode or story than Richard Gere did in the Mothman Prophecies, which is a great movie, a great bad movie. I liked it a lot. For those of you who don't know who the Mothman is, it's like the iconic cryptid, I guess, of West Virginia. Kind of heralded the Silver Bridge collapse. And then Point Pleasant, which is where he was sighted. I want to say 57, but maybe it was 67. Anyway, where he was sighted. Now they went full like Mothman on their tourism industry. So like there's a big statue of Mothman there. And I've never been to Point Pleasant, to be honest. I really want to go. I was telling my friend today, I really want to go to Point Pleasant. So that's something I'm going to do. And it's also, well, by the way, in my graduate program, I'm actually doing my final project on West Virginia tourism, like diversifying it, making it, because if you look at West Virginia tourism, it's all come fish, come hunt, come hike. It's all outdoor nature, ecotourism stuff. Well, I guess fishing and hunting is not very eco, but you know what I mean. And that's their focus because that's what we're famous for. And it does well. We had a lot less issues with COVID because, like, a lot of our tourists come here for outdoor activities, which people were able to get back to a lot faster than some of the other activities. But my proposal states that we also have a lot of paranormal tourism. We got Mothman, we got the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, we got this, we got that, and we got a lot of historical stuff. So we can still keep our focus mainly on the nature and outdoor stuff, but increase and kind of diversify the ads. So there's ads for people that want to come here and see Mothman or the Grafton monster or whatever it is, or haunted houses and stuff like that. So that's my proposal. That's what I'm working on right now. But Point Pleasant has really done that, and I think they've done pretty well. I remember reading in my research for my proposal an article about how they did that. They played into all three markets, the paranormal, the historical, because there was a Battle of Point Pleasant as well, and the outdoor stuff, because you're right there on the Ohio River too. So, yeah, I think I really need to go to Point Pleasant. As a West Virginian who has not been to Point Pleasant, I'm kind of a fraud because I talk about Mothman, but I've never been to his hometown. So, I guess the message I want you, dear listeners, to take away from this podcast is to not be afraid of change. Change is good. Change is good in every way. Well, not every way, but change brings new experiences. We talk about social change, and those are all that's important as well. But I'm talking about personal. Don't be afraid of changing your life up a little bit. As a non-certified person who's never even, I think I've taken one psychology course. I'm an expert on how the human mind works because I took that one psychology class. So I can psychoanalyze anybody. And I have seen people just freeze up over the fear of change. And change isn't bad. It can be. I mean, if change leads you to prison, that's probably going to suck. But if you keep it legal, it should be fine. Go see a new country, take a new job. I mean, especially when you're single, or young and single, or even just single. If you're old and single, why you got to be afraid of anyway? Just go out and do whatever you want. As much as money you can. Don't. Well, depending on how old you are. If you're really old, and they give you like a $50,000 credit card, just go with it. What are they gonna do? No, I'm just joking. Don't do that. That's a joke. I don't want to be legally liable for a bunch of senior citizens taking out like extremely high credit cards and never paying them back. Well, that guy on the Hogancast told me to do it. So, as I said, this is the end of season 1. It is the cliffhanger. Will there be a season 2? Who knows? It depends on whether or not the ratings are good enough to get picked up for season. I'm going to revamp it and bring it back and make it more, maybe not, I want to say more interesting because hopefully it would be more interesting if I brought it back. But I want to make sure that I'm consistently putting out episodes and that they're high quality, not like a 25-minute rant like this is. But yeah, I hope you have at least kind of enjoyed the rant. And if not, please remember that this episode is dedicated to someone very special in Thailand. And I hope this brings a little bit of joy to his cold, cold heart. Because he is a hard, hard man. He is almost unfeeling. He's kind of like Ivan Drago. But he got a promotion. And You know, the world doesn't always play out like you think it would, but he got promoted. So I'm dedicating this to him. He's actually a great person. Anyway, thank you for listening to this 25-minute rant. I hope you kind of enjoyed episode 10. It is the end of season 1 of the Hogancast. Season 2 will return, TBD. Thank you. Should I say God bless? Well, thank you, and have a good night or good day whenever you're done listening to this. And see you again one day somewhere over the rainbow.